It is time for the Tan and J Man College Football Preview Show. We were talking before the air. I think this is our sixth, if we count 2017.
You're right. It is sixth. I miscounted.
You threw me off. I was counting on my hand while our intro was going. But welcome to the Tan and J Man Show. This is always one of our favorite weeks of the year, our college football preview show. How you doing out there, T-Dog?
Doing good, J-Man. Been looking forward to this for ever since we ended last week's show. Thanks for everybody who tuned in to our 300th episode. That was fun. But, we kind of struggle in the spring and then into summer when not a lot's going on besides baseball. And then when football cranks up, it's pretty easy from there on out until college basketball ends.
Yeah,
so
I'm feeling energized tonight because, to be honest, in the summer, I'm just like, gosh, I got to go do the show. How are we going to get an hour tonight? But now it's a fun time.
Yeah, and it's fun doing research for this show. I go back, I'm looking at records of teams from last year, returning guys I forgot about, some newcomers. So it's always fun to get a refresher because we're both big Big Ten fans, of course. But before I did my research, I forgot about a lot of guys.
Yeah, Big Ten football is a lot more difficult to remember than Big Ten basketball for sure. Because you know who's returning. All the big names and all of that in basketball, but football, yeah, I couldn't remember like half the quarterbacks that each team's going to have.
No quarterbacks, and then there were some teams I knew quarterback and running back, but I didn't know any of the receivers, and defenses were real tough. But
yeah,
at least I kind of got an idea who's going to be good on what side of the ball. So, Yep.
Got some birdie bogey for me tonight.
Of course I do. And it is college football related, and it's related to the Big Ten and Pac-12, I should say. Big Ten and Pac-12 because it's got to do with the Rose Bowl. I want to know what team has the most losses all time in the Rose Bowl.
Big Ten or Pac-12, huh?
Yep, so...
obviously a team that's usually pretty dang good if they're getting there a bunch.
Right. So...
It's a good question.
Because you can kind of figure out who's been there a bunch from each conference, but who hasn't got the job done more times than not.
Birdie Bogey is brought to you by Noble Gnome LLC for fresh, locally grown, nutrient-dense produce from Bryce and Katie Romine of Mentone, Indiana. Like them on Facebook, follow them on Instagram, and check out their website, noblegnomellc.com. Get your veggies!
I was just on their website before we started recording to see what kind of merch they got, and he's got some good-looking T-shirts on there, hats, similar material to this hat, kind of the mesh stuff. They got stickers on there. They got beanies, so you can be warm come winter. So they got all different colors, designs. So noblegnomellc.com.
I saw them share something on Facebook literally right before the show, and I'm going to go bring it up. I didn't get a chance to read it, but let's see here. We are proud. What is this? K21 Health Foundation. We're proud to be financially supporting Combine Community Services, who has partnered with Noble Gnome Farm to reduce food insecurity in Kosciuszko County through sustainable produce. Check out their press release on their Facebook page. So that's really cool that they are doing that.
Yeah.
So yeah, get your veggies
and your merchandise.
And your merch. You got to get that Noble Gnome merch. Before we get into college football, I have just a few baseball notes here, and let's see. Mainly Cubs stuff, but since I just saw this, since June 17th, the Chicago Cubs are 29-28. The New York Yankees are 26-33. What is going on?
I believe it. It's, Hank Steinbrenner came out yesterday for Paul O'Neill Day, which Paul O'Neill got his jersey retired, which I could go on about that for a while. It's just like, all right, they're literally going to run out numbers one of these days and going to have to start wearing triple digits. But Hank got booed pretty bad.
He should.
So
yeah, I think
Hal, I should say, not Hank. Hank passed away. It's Hal. It's my bad. I get them confused. But yeah,
Yankees are still 8 games
the fans
up.
are ready. They're ready for a different change, which isn't going to happen. But Yeah, they're 8 games
Right.
up, but they're lucky they got that cushion early on because they have just not been playing good baseball.
Yeah. They have not been pitching well. Garrett Cole's been pitching terribly. They're not scoring runs. It's been
He's a different pitch without Spider Tech.
yeah, he is. Yeah, absolutely. It's been a bad stretch, but again, get it out of the way now before the postseason. They're still in real good shape for that. But as far as the Cubs go, Cubs have been playing some really good baseball here. They're 16-11 since over their last 27 games. They have one of the best starting rotations in baseball numbers-wise here the past month or so. And a big part of that is Justin Steele. He has a 1.47 ERA in his last 9 starts since June 29th. And he is second all-time in Cubs history for most games in a single season with 9 strikeouts or more. He has 6 such games this year. Only Johnny Lester has more. He had 7 in 2017. So Justin Steele is probably one of the lone bright spots for this Cubs team here. But they're playing good baseball, as I said. Hopefully going to get some momentum. They need to start showing that they're going to compete next year. If they can win some games here the rest of the year, I used to be like tank, get a top 3 draft pick, and now it's like, man, if they want to go out and sign a Trey Turner or Carlos Correa or Xander Bogaerts, they need to show that they're going to have a roster coming into next year that can compete. And it's getting to the point where I kind of want them to win the rest of the way.
Yeah, he kind of had a positive tweet yesterday. Justin Steele is legitimately really good. First successful pitcher the Cubs have developed since Jed Hoyer got there in late 2011.
Yeah, it has felt like that. I mean, Kyle Hendricks, you could argue him, but he wasn't a Cubs draftee. He was a Texas Rangers draftee. So as far as the pitchers they've drafted and developed, Justin Steele's been the best. Of course, they drafted Dylan Cease, but he, for the most part, came up through the White Sox organization. So, yeah, it's been a really good development and hopefully a potential building block for the Cubs. But still a bad baseball team, and now they have 5 games against the Cardinals this week, who are playing some really good baseball. 18 games over 500, have a 5-game lead on the Milwaukee Brewers. But did you see this? Yadier Molina was placed on the restricted list over the weekend.
Did not see that.
He owns a Puerto Rican professional basketball team, and they were playing in the country's championship over the weekend, and he decided that it would be a good idea to leave his job to go watch his team play. Yadi even spoke with the media, who asked about his decision, and he said that he had a responsibility to his team as his owner, its history, and important to the people of his hometown. So his team's in the middle of a pennant race, and Yachty has better things to do. Go watch Puerto Rican basketball.
Sounds like something Michael Scott would have done.
He would have definitely done it. His reasoning for leaving the team sounded very Michael Scott-esque. But other than Yadier Molina's idiocy, I really have nothing left. When it comes
you got to talk about Albert Pujols a little bit, don't you?
Pujols, I think he's 9 or 10 homers away from 700.
I thought he was closer than that. Let me see.
I think he's 9 away. He's been playing well. I mean, he is having the best year he's had since he was a Cardinal in 2011. Probably, he's hitting 46% above league average this year. So
he was hitting 189 on July 4th
on that jersey.
Since July 4th, he's hit 408 with 9 home runs.
That'll do it. He's 8 homers away.
8, yep.
From 700. He has 692. He's mainly been playing against left-handed pitching, and he's hitting them real well. But yeah, Albert going out on a good note. He has not had an above league average offensive season since 2016. So it's been a minute for him, and he's going to have to hit 8 here in the next month and a half to get to 700 because he has reiterated that he's still going to retire.
I'm rooting for him to do it.
He's yeah, it's yeah.
I know you're not, but
he was such a Cubs killer. Well, he was such a Cub killer, but he was also fairly likable. So I wouldn't mind him doing it. I have nothing against him. His listed birth age is he's 42 years old. That's what it's listed at. There's reason to believe he's like 45 to 47.
I am 12.
Still, I am 12. Yeah, 8 homers away. If he continues this stretch of hitting he's been on, he has a chance to get there. He has over 3,300 career hits. One of the greatest right-handed hitters of all time. He has hit into the most double plays in Major League Baseball history. Over his 22-year career, he's hitting 421 double plays.
Wow, that's a lot of double plays.
He was not a fast man. Not a fast man. But, that's really all I got for baseball, unless you have anything else to add.
No, not much. No, I don't think so.
Cool. College football is here.
Well,
are they having game day?
I don't think. I don't know if they are this week. I know they are next week. Let's knock out on this day real quick.
Sounds good.
So let's see what we got here. All right. I haven't even looked at these. So, on this day in sports history, on August 22nd, on this day 1927, Babe Ruth hit his 40th home run during his MLB record 60 home run season in the Yankees' 9-4 loss to the Cleveland Indians at Dunn Field. Let's see. On this day in 1947, the 14th NFL Chicago All-Star Game was held. The All-Stars beat the Bears 16-0 in front of 105,840 people.
Jeez.
Wow.
Going to see a lot of Bears shutouts this year, so that's
if they have a field to play on at this rate. That field's getting ripped up, and did you see at I think it was the Bad Bunny concert, some of the field caught on fire? Jeez. On this day, 1961, Roger Maris hit his 50th homer, of which would be 61 home runs that year.
I have seen people ask if Aaron Judge passes Roger Maris, which I don't know how many Judge has right now, should he be considered the all-time home run king because the other guys that had more than Maris were steroid guys?
I still say no. I get why they're saying that, from a non-cheating perspective, but it doesn't matter. Let me see how many home runs. I should know off the top of my head how many. He's got 46 right now.
He'd have to go scorched earth the rest of the year to get there. He can, though.
On this day, 1984, Dwight Gooden of the Mets became the 11th rookie to strike out 200 batters.
Yeah, Doc was a good one.
Speaking of strikeouts, on this day, 1989, Nolan Ryan struck out his 5,000th batter. It was Ricky Henderson who he struck out.
That is a record that will never come close to being touched.
No. A lot of Olympics, 04, Athens Olympic Games. On this day, 2007, the Texas Rangers routed the Baltimore Orioles 30-3, the most runs scored by a team in modern MLB history.
I remember that.
Wow. 2008, a lot of Beijing Olympics going on. And that's going to do it for the Honest Day. A lot of Olympic heavy, so I didn't choose any of those. So not a lot going on. Hopefully in the next few weeks we'll get some college football ones to talk about. But that is the On This Day segment, which is brought to you by, like it is every week, Mooney Woodcrafts. Mooney Woodcrafts is a veteran-owned and operated custom woodcraft shop based out of North Carolina with Indiana grassroots. They provide 100% hand-cut custom designs that fit your needs, from signs to grow charts. Their custom pieces make a great addition to any home, office, or man cave. See some of their recently completed projects, visit at Mooney Woodcrafts on Instagram or Facebook. And for orders, contact them at mooneywoodcrafts@gmail.com. So if you're looking for a Purdue sign to put up in your man cave this fall, Indiana, Notre Dame, Illinois, Ohio State, Michigan, whoever you like for college football, get a hold of Thad Mooney at Mooney Woodcrafts, and he will get it done for you.
Yes, sir. Do you want to do a word association now, or do you want to wait? It is college football related.
Let's go ahead and knock it out. Then we'll just concentrate on our season previews.
These are 15 head coaches, as my dog's going nuts in the background. 15 head coaches that have won the national championship over the past however many years. Of course, we have a bunch of repeats with Saban.
I was going to say, there's not that many the last 20 years.
Yes. So this goes back to like 96 or something like that. So starting with last year, Kirby Smart.
Just bulldog. I think about him as a bulldog. I mean, of course, he went to Georgia. Now he coaches Georgia. It just seems like a bulldog. Ever since he got that job, I'm like, this is a good fit for him. He's the right guy to do this job. You know, Mark Richt did a good job at Georgia, but couldn't get them over the hump. Kirby's got him to 2 national championship games and winning their first championship since the 80s. So, yeah, right man for the job.
Yeah. Nick Saban.
Oh, the devil himself.
Yeah.
No, arguably the best to ever do it, up there with Bear Bryant. You know, I watched The Blind Side with my girlfriend two weeks ago when we watched Field of Dreams, but also The Blind Side was on. And that movie's so old that he was still the coach at LSU then in that movie.
Yeah. I remember watching that in theaters in high school, I want to say. Well, it would have had to have been in high school. Yeah, I think it came out 2008 or 9, I want to say. Coach Edo.
Go Tigers.
Sounded
he might be one of the worst coaches to ever win a national championship.
There's another one on this list that I think is worse.
Gene Chizik. I know who you're getting to. Yeah. Right after I said that, but which I'll have another word for him when we get to him. But, Coach O, how can you not like the guy? I thought still think he got a raw deal by USC to this day.
Yeah, he took over a dumpster fire there at USC and won.
Yes, he did.
But then he had one of the greatest offenses in the history of college football with Joe Burrow and all those receivers that went in the first round. It was then 2 years later he's gone.
Wonder if he'll land back on his feet somewhere, if he'll just ride off in the sunset being a national championship coach 2 years ago. So, you know, and speaking of the blind side, that's who eventually got Michael Orr, was Ed Orgeron and Ole Miss.
Yep. Dabo Sweeney.
I find him phony. I'm sorry. You know, a lot of people think he's this great guy. I'm not so sure he's. Yeah, I just find him phony. That's what I'll say. I'll keep it clean, and I'll keep it kind of nice.
He has been a guy that has always said, if players start getting paid, I'm going to give up this job. Well,
there we are.
He's still there. So,
do you think
he's phony?
Do you think he's Alabama's next head coach once Saban retires?
Maybe. I know he's an Alabama grad. It could be his dream job, but man, he's built Clemson into something special. So yeah, it'll be interesting once that time comes. I don't know how long Saban's got left. He's in his, is he 70 yet?
Well, let me see here.
Not 100% sure, but yeah, Dabo. Going back to Bama, I mean, he could just step in. And it's tough following a legend, though. But at the same time, Dabo's a legend in his own right with all those national championship wins. So, yeah, it'd be probably just step right in and keep things going.
Nick Saban was born on Halloween. Well, that's fitting. 1951.
Yeah, he's 70. He'll be 71.
Alabama, he's 178-25.
They've lost 25 games. I'm more surprised by that than the 178 wins.
Well, you got to think his first year he wasn't very good there.
It's fair. About 25% of their losses came in that first year.
Mm-hmm.
Urban Meyer.
Oh, scummy. But a guy who's good everywhere he goes except in the NFL. But college football analyst again. He's back with Fox, I see.
I'm surprised Fox hired him.
Do you think he ever coaches again?
All the scandal. I think some college team will take a chance. I always thought USC for sure, but now they have Lincoln Riley, and he's a guy could stay there for a long time. So who knows about Urban? I know the NFL is never going to come calling again.
No, I wouldn't.
Took his chance, and it was an absolute disaster.
Right.
Jimbo Fisher.
One took his money and ran to A&M.
Yeah.
I kind of forgot he won the national title, to be honest, but he's doing a pretty good job at A&M. They got the number one ranked recruiting class coming in this year, whether they, did it or bottom, teach their own.
Hey,
but you can do it now. But I think he's really got to start getting over the hump there at A&M. They're paying him too much money not to.
They're ranked 6th in the preseason poll, so they're obviously projected to be pretty dang good this year.
I couldn't tell you much about them though.
No, couldn't name you one player on Texas A&M. Gene Chizik.
Yeah, the worst coach to ever win national championship. He was off at Iowa State.
Yeah,
I don't know why Auburn hired him when they did, but then they looked smart when he won the national championship. Of course, having Cam Newton as your college quarterback, the Heisman Trophy winner that year, helps a lot. That was 2011 national championship game, if I'm not mistaken. But yeah, he didn't last long there.
Mac Brown.
Oh, Mac Brown, Texas legend, doing fairly well at UNC right now. When I think of Mac Brown, I think Vince Young, I think Rose Bowl, I think USC. Arguably the greatest college football game ever played.
Yeah, when I think Mac Brown, the first person I can think of is Colt McCoy for some reason, more so than Vince Young. Which, I mean, McCoy led them to the national championship, and then he got hurt, didn't he?
He got hurt, and who came in? He ended up Garrett Gilbert, who ended up transferring to Sam Houston State or something.
Yeah, I wonder if Gilbert's still around. Gilbert's had a fairly long career in the NFL as a backup. Which so is Colt McCoy. He's still lasting.
Hey, and Sam Ellinger looking good for the Colts. So
yeah. Pete Carroll,
man, the guy doesn't age. No. I mean, he is old and he hasn't aged at all. It was great at USC. Knew to get out at the right time. Knew some sanctions were coming, and I can't believe he's been the Seahawks coach as long as he has. But he's won national titles. He's won Super Bowls. He's a pretty good coach.
Yeah. Jim Tressel.
Sweater vest. Man, he was good. As his offense was boring. Tressel ball was a boring style of ball, but his Ohio State teams were tough, and he got it done. And once again, knew it was time to get out because he knew he was in trouble with his team selling jewelry and rings and tattoos and tattoo money and all that.
That seems so mild compared to stuff that's going on today.
No doubt.
So. Larry Coker.
Oh, Larry Coker. The U are, I think, the best college football team that I'd ever seen was the 01 Miami, Florida Hurricanes. They were so good. 01, 02, 03. Should have beat Ohio State. The refs helped Ohio State out there in that Tostitos Fiesta Bowl, BCS championship, whatever you want to call it. But then after the U, he went to UTSA and was there for a little while. So the Roadrunners down there. So.
That was the most talented college football team ever.
Ridiculous.
I don't think anyone can argue that. I mean, they had 3 running backs: Willis McGahee, Clinton Portis, Frank Gore. You had Andre Johnson, Jeremy Shockey, and then you look at their defense. I mean, they had Sean Taylor and Ed Reed as safeties, 2 Hall of Fame level safeties. And then you had Antrell Roll on the other side, who was a multiple-time Pro Bowler. Jonathan Vilma, linebacker, Vince Wilfork in the middle. I mean, that was insane.
Kellen Winslow also next to Shockey.
Yes.
Ken Dorsey, who wasn't too bad of a quarterback.
Santana Moss was opposite of Andre Johnson.
Yeah, and Ken Dorsey was a pretty good quarterback too, but with all that talent, how could he not be?
It helps, definitely.
That is ridiculous.
It's insane. Insane. Bob Stoops.
Big game Bob, for a reason. He got it done in big games. I am shocked we have not seen him land somewhere else. I mean, he's XFL, which I don't know if he's going to be in the new XFL coming out that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson's operating. But yeah, I thought he'd be Ohio State's next head coach when Urban was gone. But Ryan Day's done a pretty good job.
Bobby Bowden,
old man Bobby. That was the first national championship game I remember watching. Florida State, Virginia Tech, Peter Warwick put on a show. Who didn't get drafted by Cincinnati Bengals. Yep, it's time. It's time to bring that back. And got to say with pride now, though, since they're good. And, but that was a young Michael Vick, I believe, on that Virginia Tech team. So Bobby Bowden, he was a legend.
Philip Fulmer.
Snake.
You hate all things Tennessee.
I know. Hey, they came after the Boiler Breakdown podcast hard last year on Twitter. Say we don't want the smoke, and then Purdue beat them. And they're still crying about it. I heard a podcast the other day. They're still – some guy goes, you guys went 7-6. And the Tennessee guy goes, with the asterisk record. You want to know what our actual record was? 9-4, because they said they lost. They got screwed by the refs against Ole Miss. They got screwed against Purdue. So Phil Fulmer, I just don't like the guy. It's crazy though. The year after Peyton Manning leaves Tennessee, they win it all.
Yeah, Fulmer is probably the reason Greg Schiano wasn't hired, or at least a big part of the reason. He
100%. Him and Clay Travis.
They both kind of started a riot there, which is just crazy.
And then they got what's his face?
Pruitt.
Pruitt.
Who was terrible, and now they're on to Josh Heupel, who I think will probably do a pretty good job.
He's doing pretty good so far.
First year there.
The guy, this podcast I was listening to, this Tennessee fan said he would not take Luke Fickell over Heupel.
It's so dumb. Tennessee fans, you can put them right up there with Nebraska fans.
100%.
Decent comparison. Used to say that about Michigan fans too, but they did just go to a college football playoff. We say it about Notre Dame fans, but they've been to a few college football playoffs.
They have, absolutely.
So Nebraska and Tennessee are kind of right there with each other. Last one here, old ball coach Steve Spurrier.
Old ball coach, that's what I was going to say. Don't even remember his time at South Carolina, even though they had decent teams. I always think of him as Florida, and I completely forget his Washington Redskins days.
Yeah. That was the dark year, which the Washington football team has had. Are they the Commanders now?
Commanders now. There's another one that Josh is going to struggle with.
Why do they do this to me? Chiefs and Braves are probably next too. So,
well, when I think of Spurrier with the then Redskins, I think of Patrick Ramsey and those maroon uniforms they switched to with the arrow helmets. Ugh, those were nasty.
I remember the Dolphins broke out the orange jerseys that I thought were awesome. Now I think they're stupid. On a Sunday night game, a terrible Dolphins team against a terrible Redskins team. And trying to think who had a good game for the Dolphins. A wide receiver no one ever heard of had a good game. It was the only good game ever. But
what year was that? I'm going to go check it out.
2000, and it was right around Thanksgiving time, like the Sunday before Thanksgiving. 2004-ish, I want to say. The Dolphins were real bad, like 4-12 that year.
How about that was August 21st, 2004, so that's not it. How about
maybe 03 or 05, somewhere in there.
Now I'm just curious. How about November 23rd, 2003?
That would have to be it.
Let's see. Who had a good game? Brian Greasy was the quarterback for the...
Yeah, he was the quarterback. So I think Dolphins were actually okay in 03.
James McKnight had 3 catches for 96 yards and a touchdown.
There it is, James McKnight.
Oh, man. Tim Hasselback was the quarterback for the Redskins that night.
I remember Tim Hasselback was the quarterback.
Dolphins won 24-23.
Yeah.
They scored 14 points in the fourth quarter to win.
I remember they were down. What was the Dolphins' record?
Jay Fiedler ignited the fourth quarter rally.
So Greasy got benched for Jay Fiedler.
At the time, the Dolphins were 7-4.
Yeah, they ended up was that the year they lost to Minnesota at the end of the year? I think that might have been 2002. Was their final game against New England that year?
I'm looking it up here. They went 10-6.
Yeah, they missed out in the playoffs though.
It was against the Jets, which they won 10-7.
Maybe I'm way
They lost at New England in week 14.
That might be what I'm thinking.
And they lost to the Eagles on a Monday night in week 15.
I don't remember that. But yeah, Dolphins choked that year. Now that I think about it,
we got off a Dolphin tangent 2 weeks early.
Yeah, two weeks early. I'm sure some Dolphins tangents will be coming for a majority of this upcoming season. But,
a good word association, though. I thought about some coaches I hadn't thought of in a long time, especially Gene Chizik. That was a name I forgot about. And that is the word association segment, which is brought to you by Like It Is Every Week Proforma Print 2 Promo Group. If you're looking for a trustworthy, dependable resource for your next trade show, company picnic, or sales meeting, Proforma Print 2 Promo Group has you covered. They have over 50 years combined experience in promotional products and commercial print. They strive for fast and efficient response to all your print needs. You need to look no further. Let them be your one-source print and promotional company today by giving Barbara Van Weinsberg a call at 574-210-3815.
College football is here. When's the first game? Do they have like a Thursday game, or is it just all Saturday?
All Saturday this week, and then a couple Thursdays next week.
So do you just want to go? We have this website called Playoff Predictor that you can go game by game, pick each game, and at the end of it, you can see what the records are, which makes it a lot easier for us to figure out records. So do you just want to go through? Maybe start with do you want to start with the East or the West and give our ranking?
Give our records.
Yes.
Let's go with the East.
Beautiful. I assume we both have Ohio State winning it.
Yes, sir.
I have Ohio State going 12-0.
I do too. 9-0 in the conference. I mean, C.J. Stroud, probably the best quarterback in the country. Yeah, right up there with Bryce Young.
Mm-hmm.
That is his name, right? Bryce Young. Yeah.
Yeah, Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner. I mean, he's good, but they also got Trayvon Henderson. He's going to be probably up there for the Heisman. So is Jackson Smith. I don't know how to pronounce his hyphenated name. I mean, they're going to be a three-headed monster in that offense.
Yeah, Stroud is the number one quarterback NFL prospect in the country. And he probably top 2 or 3 odds to win the Heisman. They went 11-2 last year, and that's a terrible year for them. I mean, that's insane that it's a terrible year. But they also have Marvin Harrison Jr. on one side, so you can.
That makes me feel old.
Yeah.
But I mean, they start off with a big one. I mean, it's the college game day next Saturday. It's Saturday night, ABC, which it won't be one of the last, but this is the last season that ABC is going to have Big Ten home games on it with the new media rights deal that we can talk about here in a little bit. But so that's a big one, hosting Notre Dame next Saturday night. I mean, there's not Cupcake City in their non-conference schedule this year.
Yeah, they aren't scared, nor should they be. And I think losing those 2 games last year kind of ticked them off enough. They were like, we're going to play best teams in the country and prove that we're better than that. So,
yep, and I think it's going to get ugly for Irish fans next Saturday night, but could be wrong.
I do too. Who you have finishing second?
I have the Michigan Wolverines.
I do too.
And I have them at 11-1.
I also have them at 11-1.
So I have them the game, as it's called, between Ohio State and Michigan would be huge. Both teams going undefeated, but I am a little concerned because I don't know who Michigan's quarterback's got to be.
I believe, do they still have Cade McNamara?
Yes.
Is he gone?
No, he's still there.
They haven't announced him starter. He wasn't that great last year. They had a really good rushing attack, great defense. But of course they were waxed by Georgia in the playoffs. So
yeah, Georgia did that to a lot of teams. I mean, they got arguably the best defense of all time. I'm trying to find who the other guy is that's competing with McNamara for their quarterback position. Let me see if I can find it here. J.J. McCarthy.
Okay. Yeah.
But, I mean, the running backs, Blake Corum's one of the best running backs in the country. Donovan Edwards is a good backup. He'd be starting on most teams. And then Ronnie Bell's a good wide receiver. But he's coming off a torn ACL. So, but the defense is really good, like you said, but they do have to replace Aiden Hutchinson and David Ojabo, who tore his ACL in Combine. Not the Combine, but Pro Day.
Aiden Hutchinson is as big of a defensive loss as you could possibly have. I mean, he was a Heisman candidate at defensive end, and now he was number 2 overall pick. Is that where the Lions took him?
Yep, and he can sing Michael Jackson.
Have you been watching Hard Knocks? It's actually really good this year. I've enjoyed it so far.
I've heard it's very good.
But I mean, those are obviously 2 huge losses, but I wonder if Michigan fans are going to give Harbaugh a little bit of leeway here. Now,
they should. I don't like the guy, but they should. I mean, come on.
I don't think they will, though. I mean, I think they got a taste of the playoff, and now they expect to be there every single year.
Yeah, you're probably right.
Yeah. Finishing third in the East, who you got?
I got the Michigan State Spartans. 9-3, 7-2 conference record, and I don't even like this Michigan State team that much. But their schedule just played out to where I had them 9-3. They do have Peyton Thorne coming back. I think he'll have a good year. They got, Michigan State fans, and he is a swaggy guy, but they literally think Mel Tucker is the swaggiest coach in America. Everything he does is swaggy. I mean, he could, the way Michigan State fans act, he could drive a Prius, and they would think it's swaggy. But Michigan State, I think they're gonna be pretty good. But I did plan on having them finish third. I thought I was gonna have them finish fourth. So.
Yeah, they were 11-2 last season. They lost Kenneth Walker at over 1,600 yards rushing. So that's a massive loss. But for the most part, their team stayed intact.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have Penn State finishing third at 8-4. They were 7-6 last season. What's our quarterback's name?
Sean Clifford.
Aiden
O'Connell plays for Purdue.
Yes, he does.
But they're both 6-year guys. They've been there forever.
I was going to say Sean Clifford feels like he's been there 10 years.
Six.
I don't know why, but this makes me feel older than the Marvin Harrison Jr. thing. Joey Porter Jr. is a top 5 cornerback prospect playing for Penn State. So that makes me feel old.
Well, Penn State's who I have as fourth, so I'll go ahead and give my little.
And I have Michigan State fourth. So.
And I have Penn State going 7-5, 5-4 in the conference. If they win 7 games, even if they win 8, I think their fan base is going to start chattering because, they gave Franklin a big extension last year, but that was more to keep him away from some teams. I thought he was USC bound. Mm-hmm. It wouldn't shock me, though, if this is his last year in Happy Valley. I feel like a split's coming, and it might be good for both parties.
Yeah. They are kind of stuck now in that 8-win, 9-win thing. But again, it's one of those be careful what you wish for because we saw what happened with Bo Pelini in Nebraska. Perennially 9 wins, and now they're slogging through the bottom of the Big Ten West now.
No, you're right. That's a good point. But it's, and this is Sean Clifford's first time having back-to-back years where he had the same offensive coordinator. He's had different offensive coordinators all the time. Manny Diaz, a former coach for your Miami Hurricanes, is now the new defense coordinator in Penn State. He's going to have a really aggressive defense. They're going to have one of the best defensive backfields in the country. But my concern with Penn State is last year they couldn't run the ball. Their offensive line wasn't good, and they couldn't run the ball. There's no excuse for them not to have a good offensive line or a good running back because they can recruit with the best of them.
Yeah.
So that's my main concern with Penn State. I don't know if they can run the ball.
Right. And as I said, I have Michigan State finishing fourth at 8-4 as well. I don't remember what I had their conference record, but moving on to 5th place, who you got?
I got Maryland, but I do have them bowl eligible 6-6 with a 3-6 conference record.
I have Maryland at 7-5. They were 7-6 last season. They beat Virginia Tech in the Pinstripe Bowl. Talia Tagovailoa is probably the second or third best returning Big Ten quarterback. Threw 26 touchdowns last year. A lot of that came early against inferior opponents, so it'll be interesting to see how he is. And this is really his 3rd year starting. Right.
He did have that awful Friday night game against Iowa last year when Iowa picked him off 5 times.
Yeah, 5 or 6 times.
But a lot of people, there are things to like about this Maryland team. They're going to have speed. Michael Loxley's a very good recruiter.
Great recruiter, especially in the D.C. area.
Right. But the reason I have them 6-6 is there are a couple of Big Ten teams that meet this criteria for me. They just do not have a home field advantage. You go there, that's not a raucous place to play. So we'll see. Yeah.
Finishing 6th, I have Rutgers at 3-9.
Exact same. They have 3 quarterbacks battling it out for their quarterback position.
Will Levis, is he one of them? Because he's the only one I've ever heard of.
Not according to the 24/7 Sports. Noah Vedral.
Vedral, that's what I'm thinking, not Will.
Gavin Winsett and Evan Simon.
Yeah, they won 5 games last year and made a bowl. They lost to Wake Forest in the Gator Bowl because of a team dropped out. I forget what team dropped out. Do you remember?
Who was that? No, I don't.
And I think it was a COVID thing.
It was bizarre.
So, Rutgers, it looked like, man, they could be better, but the East is just brutal.
It is.
It's just a gauntlet. So
It is. And I don't know how much longer we'll have the East to West. There was talks there was going to split off next year, but now with USC and UCLA coming in 2024, maybe they just do it for one more year and then do whatever you're going to do, pods or whatever.
Right. So we both have Indiana finishing last. What do you have them record-wise?
I have a 3-9, 1-8 in conference.
I also have them 3-9. Came into the year ranked 18th last year.
Yeah.
And they finished 2-10.
Yeah, a lot of injuries, I will say, but yeah, a lot of hype after that weird shortened 2020 season, which they almost stole the East, and they did not capitalize on it. But like I said, a lot of injuries. New quarterback, it looks like, unless Tuttle wins the job, but I don't think he's going to. I think it's going to be Missouri transfer Connor Bazelak, I think is how you pronounce his last name, who he showed flashes, but he also led the SEC, I believe. No, he was second in SEC in interceptions, I believe, last year. I think Kentucky's quarterback led the SEC in interceptions. But I don't see it going very well for Tom Allen and company down there.
Yeah, they had that, as you said, good COVID 2020 season. They were good the year before that as well. Winning,
yes, they were.
I think they were 8-4 in the
lost that the Gator Bowl to Tennessee.
Yeah,
heartbreaker.
But everything I've read so far, it's still a battle between Tuttle and Bazelak or whatever his name is, but probably going to be Bazelak.
Yeah, Tuttle hasn't impressed me in the 2 years he's been there.
Which he was was he the transfer from Utah?
Yep.
So they have two transfer quarterbacks battling it out. But, Tom Allen had a good 2-year stretch, but last year...
kind of lost some of the momentum.
I was going to say all momentum ceases to exist now.
Even in in-state recruiting, too, they're hurting lately, too. Mm. They were nabbing some good recruits there for a little while. Now they're hurting.
Yep. Moving on to the Big Ten West, who do you have winning it?
I don't even want to do this. I don't want to do this.
Tanner, every year, man.
This year's worse than ever, though, Josh. This year I actually have sky-high expectations, and I'm ready to get hurt again. Barring injuries, I have the Boilermakers winning the West. Gotta believe, J-Man.
Gotta believe. I do not have Purdue winning the West. I have Wisconsin winning the West at 10-2.
That's what I have Purdue's record, 10-2.
10-2. Who are the two losses?
At Wisconsin, because until they beat Wisconsin, I'm never predicting it to happen. And at Minnesota, I think they'll be better than Minnesota, but PJ Fleck has Jeff Brom's number. And until he gets over the hump, he hadn't done it since 2017. So, the reason I like Purdue so much, I know they lost David Bell, George Karlaftis. You can't replace those guys. Also, Milton Wright, who was going to be their number one wide receiver. He's out due to academic issues, out of school, I should say. But they didn't have those three guys in the bowl game, and they beat a Tennessee team that was a lot more talented, and really it was a home field environment for Tennessee in that Music City Bowl. So pretty much that bowl team's pretty much back for the most part for this Purdue squad. I mean, they got 7 returning defensive starters. They do have a new defensive coordinator, but he was on the staff last year, Ron English, because Brad Lambert went to Wake Forest. But their offensive staff's pretty much intact, a new wide receiver coach. My one concern with Purdue is, can they run the ball? They're going to sling it. That's got to be their offense. I mean, they still have a lot of wide receiver depth, thanks to 2 Iowa transfers that came in, Charlie Jones and Tyron Tracy, who I think will be key components, along with Brock Thompson and TJ Sheffield and a few others. Payne Durham, tight end. Injury bugs bit him a little bit, but luckily so far it's been in backups. And the reason I like Purdue so much is finally stability at quarterback. This is the second time in the Jeff Brom era they've entered a season without having a quarterback competition. And Aiden O'Connell's coming off a hot end of the season. I mean, he went his last 5 regular season games last year without a pick, and then had a good performance against Tennessee, was second team All Big Ten. So if he can stay healthy, if they can keep him upright, I think they can have a pretty good season. I think 10-2 is their ceiling. I think their basement though is 7-5 with their schedule.
And I was just about to ask, what do you think their floor is?
I think 7-5. If they go 7-5 or 6-6, I'm gonna be, assuming they're healthy, I'll be pretty disappointed.
As I said, I have Wisconsin winning the West 10-2. They were 9-4 last season. Braylon Allen's going to be the next great Wisconsin running back. 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns as a freshman. It's just next man up.
Yeah, it's rip off the jersey number and the name, put it on a new one. Same thing with their linemen, send them out. I have Wisconsin second at 9-3, 6-3. Love Braylon Allen. Not so sure about Graham Mertz. Still not a believer in him.
Yeah, he might not have a job if it weren't for that opening game against Lovey's Illini in 2020. I have Iowa finishing second at 8-4, 10-4 last season. Sam Laporta's top 5 tight end prospect, Jack Campbell top 5 linebacker prospect. What's his first name? Something Petrus.
Spencer Petrus.
Spencer Petrus. I knew it started with an S. He is not well liked there in Iowa, and I don't think he's very good. But it's Iowa. They're going to have a good offensive line, good running game, good defense. They're going to be solid.
Yeah, it's just going to have a boring offense for a passing game like always. But I have Iowa here on my list, but I'll get to them in a second.
Finishing third, you have who?
Minnesota. 9-3, 6-3 in the conference. And this is
West
kind of like
pretty dang good.
I do. kind of like Michigan State. I don't like them as much as I have their record, but Tanner Morgan's coming back for a 6th year. Mohamed Ibrahim, before he got hurt, he got hurt the first game of the year against Ohio State, but he was torching that defense. But it's an Achilles injury. Running backs have a tough time coming back from Achilles injuries. So they lost like all their offensive linemen, though, I believe, and a lot of guys on defense. But I don't even like PJ Fleck as a guy, but I think he's a pretty good coach. I guess maybe I'm just putting a lot of faith in these 6-year quarterbacks over on the West.
I have Minnesota finishing third as well at 7-5, 9-4 last season. This is Tanner Morgan's 14th year of college football. You cannot tell me otherwise.
Great first name, though.
He's been there so long. I think they'll be solid. I don't think they'll be as good as last year, but I think they'll be solid. Fourth,
I have the Hawkeyes at 8-4, 5-4. Iowa pumps out 8-9 win teams. That's just what they do. But I just don't think they'll be as good as they were last year.
I have Purdue actually hitting their floor at 7-5.
No, I'll be disappointed.
Mainly for the reasons you said as to why you think they'll be good, because they did all that stuff without Tennessee. Well, losing to David Bell hurts.
Sure. You can't replace him, but
I honestly don't know much about Purdue, and I was surprised I had them at only 7-5 after looking at them. But
somebody's going to have to step up as number one guy. They have a lot of depth, like I said, but somebody's going to have to do it. I just don't know who's going to be. So.
Yeah, somebody's going to have to go kill Iowa, because they're going to have their Iowa killer.
100%. Yeah, my gosh.
So, finishing fifth.
I got the Cornhuskers. But good news, Nebraska fans, I got you making a bowl at 6-6. 4-5 in conference. So Casey Thompson, their shiny new toy at quarterback, Texas transfer.
I have he threw 24 touchdown passes last season. Of course, Nebraska went 3-9, but you can hear Nebraska fans, we weren't that bad, which honestly they probably weren't that bad. They were in every single game, but again, you got to win those games. Nebraska brags about the weirdest stuff where I almost called him PJ Fleck, which are pretty similar. Scott Frost bragging about his offensive linemen throwing up 15 to 20 times, or they have 15 to 20 offensive linemen throwing up per practice or something like that. Like, that's a cool thing. It's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. But I have Nebraska actually finishing sixth at 5-7. I have the Illini finishing fifth at 6-6. Won 5 games last year. The fact that they won 5 games last year is insane, because that roster was terrible. Their schedule is easier this year than it was last year. But I think their ceiling, I have them at their ceiling at 6-6. I think their floor is probably 4-8. But they have 4 games that I think are attainable, or 3 games that I think are attainable that they absolutely have to win. And one of them is in week 1 against Indiana. At Indiana, I think they absolutely have to win that game if they want to make a bowl. They have to beat Minnesota, and they have to beat Northwestern. Those are kind of the 3 they absolutely have to, and probably need to upset a team like Iowa or Purdue at home in order to get there. But they have a really good running back, Chase Brown, over 1,000 yards rushing last year. Josh McCray's a really good backup running back. Quarterback transfer Tommy DeVito, coming in from Syracuse, had a really good year in 2019, but it's been a few years since he's really played a whole lot, but he adds more athleticism, more arm talent than Brandon Peters, and more of a personality, because that offense took on Peters' personality way too often. So I think after last year winning 5 games, and honestly, they should have beaten Maryland, should have beaten Purdue, could have easily won 7 games, and they ended up with 5. I think they should be able to get to a bowl, but we'll see. It's such a coin flip with them. You never know what team's going to show up.
And one thing about Nebraska, I forgot to mention, they got a new shiny toy for Casey Thompson. Palmer, the wide receiver from USC transfer. He should be pretty good for them. I have Illinois finishing sixth at 4-8 at your basement, at 1-8 in the conference. And I don't like that I did that because I think they're going to be better than that. And I was surprised when I had them 4-8. I actually had.
It's tough.
They were Indiana's lone Big Ten win for me, just because it's at Indiana week 1, which will be Illinois' week 2. But
yes,
this Illinois team was close last year. Go ahead.
The fact that Indiana gets to see Illinois before Illinois gets to see them helps Indiana out significantly.
But it wouldn't shock me if Illinois makes a bowl at all. It wouldn't shock me at all. So I think they're going to be, even if they go 4-8, they're going to be a pain in everybody's side because they're not going to go away easily. I think Bielema's going to eventually build something pretty good there.
So we both have Northwestern finishing last.
3-9, 0-9 in the conference for me.
I have them at 3-9 as well. They averaged 16 points a game last season, which is awful for one. They were 125th out of 130 teams scoring the football. They do have the number 1 ranked offensive tackle prospect in college football in Peter Skoronski. But they haven't been able to throw the ball in years, haven't been able to run the ball. They're a bad team, but it seems like every time you think Northwestern is going to be terrible, they somehow win 7, 8, 9 games. So
that's a good point.
Who knows?
I mean, Ryan Helinski, anytime Rutgers fans are rejoicing when you take their quarterback, that's not a good sign. Evan Hall and Cameron Porter, 2 viable running backs, but besides that, they don't have much. Did they lose? That might have been basketball. They lost somebody decent to transfer. Unless I thought they had somebody in football transferred to Notre Dame, Northwestern. I could be just imagining that. But, yeah, I think it's going to be a rough fall for Pat Fitzgerald up there in Evanston.
I agree.
Then I have Ohio State beating Purdue in the Big Ten Championship. Ohio State over Purdue.
Yes.
Yep.
I have Ohio State over Wisconsin. Who's your Heisman winner?
C.J. Stroud. Can you hear me?
No, I could not hear you. Sorry.
C.J. Stroud.
I also have C.J. Stroud winning the Heisman this year. It was my bold prediction, I think, coming into the 2022.
I think it was. Or a Big Ten. At least the Big Ten would have one. Do you have any dark horses for the Heisman?
No, not really. I think Braylon Allen, Wisconsin, could be a name.
Sure.
He's only a sophomore. But
I got a couple dark horses. Tyler Van Dyke, quarterback at the University of Miami, or Miami, Florida. I think they're going to be pretty good this year with Crystal Ball there as the head. I think they're going to have some swag back to them. I looked for them to win 9, maybe 10 games. This one's a real dark horse. His team would have to be really good, but Malik Cunningham, quarterback at Louisville. He's got to put up some numbers. I just don't know if they can win enough.
Yeah. Those are good names. Alabama's going to have 4 candidates.
Sure.
And I'm sure Georgia will have some candidates too. Clemson's probably going to have a candidate. So.
Clemson's might have the best defensive line I've ever seen on paper.
Really? Mm-hmm. Even better than Georgia's last year?
Defensive line, yes. Not defense overall, but defensive line, yes. They might have 3 guys going to top 10 in the NFL draft next year. It's going to be ridiculous.
Good.
But
which Clemson's been a defensive line factory here the past however many years too.
Before we get into our playoff predictions, I know we're running out of time. Notre Dame Fighting Irish. What do you have their record as?
Didn't choose their schedule. Completely forgot about them. I think I don't even know who they play. I can go look up their schedule real quick and give you 2 losses for them.
Number 5 in the country, and J-Man's forgetting about them. They do have some question marks. Quarterback Tyler Buckner's going to be there. He's taking over for Jack Cohn. There, he played a little bit last year. I think he ended up with a 300 and handful of yards. But
looking at their schedule, I think they go 9-3 with losses at Ohio State, Clemson at home, and at USC. I think USC finally gets them for first time in what feels like forever. But other than that, I don't see any chance they lose a game.
I had them 8-4. I had the same 3 losses as you. I also had them tripping up at UNC.
At UNC, okay. I could see them losing at BYU as well.
That's a neutral game in Vegas. because they did the
Vegas.
hangover thing with the uniforms and everything. Because I almost picked that instead of UNC, but I think Notre Dame's floor would be a 7-5. I mean, absolute floor, and their ceiling, 11-1. Because I just don't see them getting through Ohio State, Clemson, and USC unscathed. But
yeah.
4
playoff.
teams for the playoff. Yeah.
I have Alabama.
Yep.
Ohio State.
Yep.
Georgia, and Texas A&M.
I have Alabama, Ohio State, Utah, and Michigan.
Utah, huh? You think two Big Ten teams?
I think they find a way. Big Ten's getting this huge media right deal next year.
That's a good point.
I think Michigan loses. Ohio State doesn't have to play in that Big Ten championship. Sits it out. There's chaos. Somehow they slide in. Watch out for Oklahoma State. I think they'll be tough. I like your A&M pick though. I don't know. Georgia. So you had 3 SEC teams.
Oh, I do. That's not gonna happen.
You thought A&M was still the Big 12, didn't you?
I did too. I did. Give me Oklahoma State because I almost had them in originally.
I like it.
So it seems like we pick Oklahoma State to make it every year as a surprise.
And I really don't know why. Utah was within an eyelash to win the Rose Bowl last year, and Kyle Whittingham's such a good coach.
He is.
So I think.
Who do you have winning it all?
I think it's going to be between Bama and Ohio State. I literally think those two teams are so much better than everybody else. Clemson's another one I could have had in the playoff, but I'm going to go Alabama. I know it's boring, and I hate it. I mean, they get all the 5 stars. I wish a 5-star would switch it up and go to like a Utah or Oklahoma State or something because they could make a program there. You know what I'm saying? But they see the dollar signs. I get it from their point of view why they go to Alabama. But if you're that good, you're going to be that good wherever you go. You could go to a program and make that program relevant again.
Right.
But they choose to just be the next man up.
Yep.
But
I have Ohio State.
Okay.
So
puke either way. So
yep. This episode is brought to you by The Damn Landing. Whether you want an epic burger, hand-tossed pizza, hand-bread, tenderloin, seafood, craft beer, or a handcrafted cocktail, Damn Landing is the place to be. The Damn Landing is a bar and grill located on beautiful Lake Manitou. Focuses on freshness and quality. You can wash down their delicious food with one of their 16 beers on tap, including a constant rotation of today's best microbrews or domestic flavors, or a handcrafted cocktail made using fresh ingredients. Taking the fantastic views of Lake Manitou and their beer garden or outdoor bar area. Whether it be boats or wheels, The Damn Landing is the place to be, located 1305 Ewing Road in Rochester. I also have a book it to do. So we have a couple games this week. We have Wyoming at Illinois, Nebraska and Northwestern playing Ireland, I believe.
They do. Yep.
Duquesne and Florida State, Florida A&M, North Carolina, and Vanderbilt plays at Hawaii. This will be the J-Man's Book It prediction of the week. Man, who am I going to pick? I think Illinois beats Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, they should.
I think Nebraska wins, but in a tight one.
Yes. Nebraska is 12.5-point favorites. I think this will be the Book It. Northwestern covers that 12.5. I think Nebraska gets a scare, and wouldn't that be hilarious if Northwestern gets them?
If Northwestern wins, they might leave Scott Frost in Ireland.
They might. J-Man's Book of Prediction of the Week brought to you by Indiana Farm Bureau insurance agent Travis Watring. For life, home, auto, business, renters, workers' comp, and farm insurance, contact Travis at 219-869-4561. His email is travis.watring@infb.com. Hit me with that birdie bogey here.
Which Big Ten or Pac-12 team has the most losses in the Rose Bowl all time?
I have no idea, but I'm going to go with Michigan.
Oh, crud. That's a birdie for you, my friend.
Yes.
I'm 3 strokes behind. I'm in trouble.
I pulled that out of nowhere.
They are 8-12 all time in Rose Bowls.
Man. Wow, I got lucky. I had no idea. I had a 1 in however many chance, 20-something chance. I figured it was probably a Big Ten team.
USC's played in the most in 34 Rose Bowls. They're 25-9. And then you have a lot of teams with 7 losses. Ohio State, Washington, UCLA, Wisconsin, all with 7 losses. Wisconsin is 3-7 in Rose Bowls.
I almost said Wisconsin because it did seem like they had a stretch where they lost a bunch.
Can you name me the 3 teams in both conferences? There's only 3. Well, besides the teams that have never played in it, of course. 3 teams that have played in Rose Bowls and never won one. Can you name me those real quick?
Indiana.
Indiana's 0-1, 1968.
Illinois.
Illinois is 3-2.
3-2, winning record. Has Purdue won one?
They're 1-1. They beat USC back in the day.
67.
67.
I have no idea.
Utah is 0-1 last year. Sense. And Washington State is 0-3. Last time they played, it was 0-3. So
they went in 0-3, huh? I guess they had some good years. I mean, they had Bledsoe and they had Ryan Leaf. Those
were in the 90s, though.
Yeah.
But
yeah. Thanks for watching the Tan and J-Man Show live on the ISC Sports Network. We'll be back out with a lot more college football next week. Have a fantastic week, everybody.